Hi, David Odell here with OdellCompleteConcrete. This is part 2 of the 2-part series. We're getting ready to pour some concrete. There's your channel drain, 5-foot sections, glued seams with a concrete footer underneath them, locking it in place. Now here's all your rebar, number 3 on 2-foot centers, blocked up with some 2-inch dobies. I got the whole team here. Myself, my son, I got Ray, I got Carlos, and I got John. We're gonna get it on, old school style. Although I'm using a new bowl float here, it's got a rocker arm, which, you know, is fairly a new concept, but I love them. Ray and John are on that rod stick there. I'm just kind of pulling up where it needs to be. Whatever we're lacking, that's where I go. Now you notice on that channel drain there, I've already pulled all the steel stakes out because that's all locked in with concrete. I put that concrete ahead of time to hold that in place. I also put rebar dowels across from one side of the channel to the other side, so it's still one slab. In other words, even though it seems like a cold joint at that channel drain, it's really not, because I have concrete locking the two sides together from underneath it. So if it moves, it won't crush that channel drain, because that's what will happen if you try to set channel drain on dirt and you don't have concrete underneath going across to lock it together with rebar. That's what I've done here, so it's good to go. It's not going anywhere ever. Now we're pouring on really 100% pure sand. You throw this stuff down, it's not getting any harder. I don't care what you do to it. It's as hard as it gets right when it hits the floor. .3,000 psi pea gravel 3/8 with fiber mesh. There's your first load, looks to me like. Well, I know we went 2 loads on this, so we cut out right around that channel drain there. We'll shape it up with the bowl float. We'll come around with the fiberglass funny float. Funny floats, funny trowels are a fairly new concept in my life anyway. Also, this tool here is a new concept. Makes it much easier though, I have to say. All those 3 things I mentioned. You need less people to do the same job, in other words. Now I am going to saw cut this entire job, but since because it's so big that I'm going to have to put some wet cut joints in there the day of the pour, because I don't want to have to come back the next morning to see cracks. So I'm going to put a couple key joints in the day of the pour, and I am going to power trowel this. It is especially difficult with a lot of joints running a power trowel, because whenever you pass over a joint with a power trowel, it has a tendency to close it. And you can kind of understand why, because it's a lot of weight. So when you drop over a joint, you want to pass over in one spot as quickly as possible. Although you do want to get as close to the center line as possible with your blades of your power trowel to make sure it stays flat, you still in the same hand, you don't want to close it up. Because every time you close it up, as it gets harder to open those joints. So you really have to be on the ball, basically, throughout the whole process. Hi, this is David Odell, Odell Complete Concrete. My glove rep came over here today, Leo.
With Stable Gloves.
Glad you came over to give me some free gloves today.
Thank you for having us out
here. These are nice. I've been getting these pretty regular. They seem, and they're washable too. So we're gonna be giving a bunch of these away in the maybe in the next video I do. We'll give away some gloves.
Yes, sir. I think you just wanted to come out here and give you guys some gloves, and hopefully you guys still like them. And thank you for having us out here.
Yeah.
Great work you guys are doing today, and you know, hopefully everything keeps going.
Yeah.
Let's keep it old school.
Are you going to go to Concrete World?
Yes, sir, we are. Stable Gloves will be there for sure.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
We're gonna have a lot of fun out there, you know, after the show, of course. But we're gonna, you know, go out. Probably hit a couple clubs or something, huh?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time out there, just like the song says. You know, party tonight.
Right on. See you there.
Thank you guys. You guys have a good time out there.
All right, so here we are back on the power trowel. And what I did the first pass with this power trowel is I used a float attachment that I just connected to the blades. And that's a big pan, just a big flat pan that goes underneath the blades. And you can get on it a lot earlier with that, and it also flattens it out really nicely. So that's how I hit it the first time, with the pan attached to the blades. Now my second pass, I pulled that pan off, and I'm just going to hit it with the blades. Now as it gets harder, I will tilt the pitch on the blades a little bit higher on each pass. Just as you would do with a hand trowel, but the only difference is this is a power trowel. Same process, just a different tool. I love power troweling stuff too, especially when it's flat like this. They really come in handy. Now John here was he just wanted to keep troweling off the boards. He didn't mess around, he was non-stop. Now we have the 50% horsehair broom and 50% nylon. That's what's putting this texture on it. Now that little 4-foot strip along the patio addition, that has to be done by hand in this situation. Even though I do have a 3-foot trowel, it would have fit in there, but we're at a good 2% slope right in that area. So I didn't really want to jump the channel drain, so we decided just to knock it out by hand in that area. Now here's the curing compound that's going on. There's many varieties of curing compounds. Some types of curing compounds you don't want to use if you plan on staining or sealing or doing something decorative in the future. So you have to look out for that and make sure you know what you're using. Particular sealer that I'm using, I can do anything I want, you know, after this stuff is put on in 30 days, or if I pressure wash it off. So this one's a good forgiving one. I mean, if you're putting a stain, if you use like an oil-based concrete cure, which actually are the best, you really wouldn't be able to stain it. But they are more hazardous to use, unfortunately. Or in fact, they had one guy that I worked with, and he got some of the oil. This is years ago, but got some of that oil, the oil concrete cure on his body, and it actually burned, left some burns on his skin. And so I don't even know if they have that anymore, but it was a red one, and this is white. So I don't know if they have that stuff anymore, but it was actually better. It worked a lot better, but you know, hazardous to use. So I got a few control joints in here where I thought, well, it may crack overnight before I get back here to saw cut. So I want to put these key ones in just to get me through the night. This coverage of this curing compound we're throwing, they're probably like 50% coverage, but that's a lot better than no coverage. That buys you the time to get there, saw cut it. Here we are the next day, snapping some lines, and we're running about 10-foot grid on this, and we'll cut right through the channel drain. I'm just laying a little bit of plastic down on the concrete to run my saw on. That way I don't scratch the concrete, because it is really green right now. I mean, even if you walk wrong, you could scratch the surface. Although those scratches won't be noticeable in 45 to 90 days once it cures out. But it is kind of an eyesore in the time, you know, in that 30 days. So you can lay some plastic down, run your plate of your saw on that, and that'll you know, you won't scratch the concrete that way. Also, you get less resistance when you're pushing your saw, so it's much easier to glide it across. So plastic is the best for the least resistance. Now after we saw cut, that cement residue that's on there from the dust will harden on the concrete again because it's this fresh, and it will leave a stain, which is another eyesore for who knows how long until it wears off. But if you run the pressure wash behind it, you can remove all that quickly. Also, you can clean the side of the house from concrete splatters if the paint's any good on the house. If the paint's still good on the house, you're going to remove paint as well. But that just means it's time to paint, and you're just, you know, helping the painters out a little bit. Now that channel drain, which I got, I believe, at Lowe's or Home Depot, some local, easy, readily available place, easy pickup. They had a tape already on the surface, which we leave on. That way we can pull that off, and then the top is nice and clean. That's what that white stuff was that you seen there as I was pulling it up. You can pressure wash it off, and that's what I was doing. I was using the pressure washer to lift it and blast it off the top of that channel drain, and then I could grab it and rip it. So here in the shade along the block wall, you can see it's still white from the concrete cure. But as you get out where there was more in the sunlight, direct sunlight, the curing compound completely dried clear. So what we did with that channel drain is we have, at the high side, we have about a 1/2 inch slope. The other end, we have the full 2% cross slope, which gave us the slope as well. And, you know, 2%, 4 feet, we had a good 1 inch. We had 1 inch across at this end, which gave us a 1/2 inch slope in the channel to that point. And then we broke it again a little bit faster. Now all this area was shaded, so the curing compound was still white. My son sprayed all this area here on the side. Here's how the water comes out of these channel drains. They do have an adapter, an 1.5 inch adapter that plugs into the end of that, and it changes into an 1.5 inch, and then from the 1.5 inch you can go to 3 inch and take it all the way to the front yard if you want. But since we're in sandy soil and I do have slope to the front on this side yard, it can just fill up right there and it'll run out eventually before it would ever go into the building. So this is what it looks like after you power trowel, saw cut. You can see how the water's beating up. That's because of the concrete curing compound. Acts as a sealer, basically. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for the next ones, because I just keep rolling them out. Nothing but the best. Thanks. Bye.